Good morning, everyone. Get TikTok turned on here. It's a hair morning. And good morning, welcome. Time for our mindfulness moment today. Glad you're with me. These are beautiful moments together where we join our hearts together corporately and connect to the divine spirit of heaven. For many of us who've left our church communities behind, or faith communities, we may feel like spirituality is out of reach for us. But in fact, it's opened up in so many ways, because quite often our Christianity and its staunchness of its belief system, its narrowness of its pursuit of truth, keeps us from truly experiencing what spirituality can look like. And in a lot of ways, no longer being in that church sphere gives me a freedom to experience a spiritual world that truly surpasses understanding, is not easily explained by human dogma. So I'd love for you to come join me if you're looking for a time of corporate contemplation, mindfulness, prayer, however you look at it. Come join me. I would love for you to let me know where you're joining from. Give me your name and your place, and we connect around place. Oh, I need to change my name on YouTube because I had it set up for Ashley and I doing our live this last weekend. So let me do that. William from South Carolina is here in the Alignment Heart. Love that moniker. It's beautiful. So we'll join together for a time of corporate contemplation, get you started on your morning. Good morning, Denise. Where are you from, Denise, again? We're going to talk about open-heartedness today. What does open-heartedness look like? Denise from Colorado. Beautiful state. So yeah, let me know where you're joining from this morning. Just get very comfortable in your seat. We like to talk about letting our physiology be supported by our chair. So we feel like that's a responsibility we can let go during this time. And I'll answer religious questions after we have our time of corporate contemplation together, and I'll be glad to do that. Minneapolis, yeah, welcome. Hi, Saralina Betza. It's the best place to be, right at the foothills of Pikes Peak. Is that near? That must be near Colorado Springs, right? From the University of Alabama campus in Tuscaloosa. Shelby, I've been loving your comments, and my heart has gone out to you in some of the things I've seen you put. And yeah, if you ever want to connect, go to my website and email me through the website. Indianapolis is here. Roll Tide, says Karen. Yeah, Colorado Springs is a beautiful place. I used to go there as a sportscaster covering Fresno State when we would play Air Force. What a beautiful town you live in. Like I said, I'll answer your religious questions later. We're here for a time of corporate contemplation. Ashley is on YouTube from Ohio, and I'll be glad to answer questions later. And no, I'm not going to accept an invite for a shared live right now. So we're going to talk about open-heartedness. All right, I'm going to have to mute you because you just can't seem to understand that I said I would answer questions later, and the free comment space is just not always something everyone can handle. Yeah. You bet, Shelby. Yeah, reach out and email me. I'd love to, if I can walk alongside you, that would be great. Denise moved here from Florida 20 years ago. Okay. Yeah, like we said, some people can't handle the free comment space, so we have to mute them for the live. There's another Colorado Springs on here. Carol, meet Denise. You guys are both in the Colorado Springs area. The only thing I don't like about Colorado Springs is that focus on the family is there. They've done a lot of damage to young people through the years. Yeah. So I can already feel so let your chair support your physiology and release the worry of sitting and holding your body in space. Start to think about who you are as a spiritual person, as a spirit being inside of this body. The body is a temporary holding tank, while the spirit is eternal, never ending. So what's more important, the part of us that will always go on, or the part that's temporarily causing us so much joy and grief all at the same time? Become aware of your breath as we're sitting here together. Breath is cleansing. And you may feel anxiety come along. Oh, I've got to worry about this for the day. Give yourself permission to be able to take that anxiety out, set it aside, say, anxiety, I'll be able to pick you up in a few minutes and put you back in, and I can be fearful again. But right now, I'm going to put you over there and not let you dominate this moment. I want this to be a special, open-hearted moment. So what does open-heartedness look like? In the Bible, in the book of Hebrews, it says, don't be hard-hearted as your fathers were in the desert. Well, what were they hard-hearted about? The story is, and I'm not quibbling about whether the story is actual or moral or allegorical. It's just the story, and it's a beautiful one, of people coming out of bondage. They've been enslaved for a long time. Maybe for us, we could say, wow, we were in bondage to a religious mindset for a long time, and now we've been set free and we're traveling. And there's going to be opportunities all along the way to start to think, can I believe something new than what I've always believed? Or am I doing something wrong? I still feel a tie back to that dogma that had me in bondage before. Hi, Katie. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. It means a lot to me that you're here. And so we have to free our heart to say, I'm going to be open-hearted to receive and be open to something new. The hard-heartedness then ultimately got the people, the Israelites, to Mount Sinai, where they chose a religion of law over a religion of relationship with heaven. Yeah, no thanks. See, and people will continue to try to put religious bondage on you. And so you have to be open-hearted to be able to say, no thanks, I'm not going back into the slavery that I was in before. They got to Sinai and they said, no, we don't want to walk as priest in relationship with God. We want to have a set of laws and rules and a God we can manipulate. and ask to grow our crops and bless us and kill our enemies, and we understand then we have to follow the rules. And if we don't follow the rules perfectly, there will be punishment. It was a bad choice. It was a selfish choice. It was a choice of fear of the unknown and of open-heartedness. And so because of that mindset and that choice, when they reached the Jordan River on the edge of the promised land, and the spies came back, and two of the young guys said, "Oh, the land's amazing. There's giants, but it's okay. We've got this." The older guy said, "Oh, yeah, no, the land is wonderful, but the giants are huge." And the people, the generation, chose to follow those who saw the giants, not those who saw the grapes, not those who saw the opportunity. And so in the book of Numbers, chapter 14, we see God saying in the story, okay, none of these people are going to get to go into the promised land. It says in verse 24, but my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit and has followed me fully, I will bring into the land into which he went, and his descendants shall possess it. I'll answer that in just a second, Michael. So what was different about Caleb? What did his heart allow for to be able to see the challenges, but be excited about the possibilities, versus that older generation that says, no, things can never be different than what we've always known? We see this in our culture today, don't we? We see a generation that's saying, yeah, we tried to change the world in the 60s, but it didn't change. And so we're just going to finish out our time on earth as these grumpy, old, angry people. And you young whippersnappers that have a hope that life can be different will curse you for doing so. And when we're willing to throw off the bondage of that generational curse and say, no, I think the world can be different, we open our heart, we have that different spirit. Hi, Tiff, good to see you today. We have that different spirit in our heart. And we're suddenly open-hearted to receive. And so I say to you today, let's be open-hearted and ready to receive, and not in bondage to a dogma or a mindset or fears from the past that human beings want to put up on us, of religious people want to put up on us, but instead be free to say, I get to have relationship as a priest with heaven. I mean, priest as one who can hear from heaven and share out with the world, who can interact with the spirit of goodness of the universe. Stormy's here. Good to see you, Stormy. If you're just joining us and you're hanging out with us, let us know where you're joining from. Again, this is our mindfulness moment, our time of corporate contemplation together. Find your comfortable space in your seat. Let your breath start to guide you and give you relief today. Let me know where you're joining from if you haven't already given a location so we can connect by place. Hi, West Virginia. We're going to go into our time of contemplation together. Jennifer's here from Alabama on YouTube. Good to see you, Jennifer. Brooklyn's here. AZ's here. Yeah. South Florida, Southern California, Oklahoma. Another West Virginia. Vegas is here. Cool. I'm Paul. I live in Fresno, California. We have beautiful weather out here right now. Missouri, where I grew up, Spent most of my early life. Stormy from Victoria, Australia. Oh, Stormy, good to see you. Hillsong country, right? So start to feel yourself as a spiritual being. Feel your spirit literally being able to become bigger than your body. What does being a spiritual being feel like to you? What does being an open-hearted being like Caleb, who could say, I can see the challenges, but I'm going to focus on the possibilities? What does that feel like in your spiritual person, as a spirit, as a human spirit? I find that when I take deep breaths in, let my breath guide me, as is sort of a yoga practice or a practice of Buddhism, I can start to really sense myself as a spiritual being, as that Caleb who's open-hearted to the possibilities of what can come in a moment, rather than the hard-hearted fathers in the desert who said things can never change than the bondage that we grew up in. And I give you permission to be freed from the bondage of your lineage and heritage, of your childhood, of your religious beliefs. And in this moment of mindfulness, to start to focus on the possibilities of what a spiritual relationship with heaven, rather than a religious one, begins to look like. Sometimes it's really good to expel that breath from deep in this core. Be careful who you breathe on when you do it. But the Bible says that Jesus, Ruach, he breathed on them. He said, receive the Holy Spirit. And I believe the Holy Spirit is not a separate being from us. The Holy Spirit is awareness that the Spirit of heaven lives in us. Hi, Rachel. I see that comment on being halfway through seminary. I know that feeling. If you want to email me through my website and connect and talk about it, I'd be glad to journey with you. So are you feeling your spirit? Are you feeling yourself as a spiritual being outside of this body? If you're feeling tension in your body, let that tension go. If it's anxiety about something that's coming up, take it out and set it aside and say, anxiety, I can pick you up in a little while, but I'm going to leave you on the side right now. Let anxiety go to the side. This is your moment of peace and of interaction with the goodness of heaven. I saw somebody earlier saying, what God are you talking about? Just let your spirit imagine now what it feels like to have the spiritual world, the supernatural around you. Don't worry about what it looks like or what the name of that spirit of heaven is. Just let yourself feel what being a spiritual being who's starting to connect with heaven looks like. Our spirits are connected with one another. By sharing our place, we now are understanding our connection kinetically with one another, quantum physically with one another. And now we're going to allow ourselves to expand and connect with heaven. What does that feel like? What do you see? Can you picture yourself in a space that is safe for you? Maybe it's in your imagination, a place that you went to in your imagination when you were younger, or a place in the forest where you felt particularly connected to God. Let yourself be there right now. Let the worries of the day that ahead go. They will be there when you're finished. Yeah, Michael, just imagine a safe space where you can interact with the Spirit of heaven. Imagine it in here. Imagine it around you. Imagine feeling the Spirit of God that lives in you being activated and able to be present in this moment. Whatever anxiety is holding you to this place, come back just to the present My voice leading you into a spiritual place that says, okay, I can let that anxiety go for now. Thank you, Tiff. This is a practice. Wherever you are in it, it's okay. We're learning together. How do I set aside anxiety and be open-hearted? How do I have that spirit of Caleb, a different spirit that says, yeah, I see the challenges, but I'm open to the possibilities of what can come. I see the giants, but I'm going to focus on the grapes today. I see the challenges that lay ahead, but I know there is good that will help me in this moment. That is what open-heartedness feels like. Kay says it's hard because I begin thinking about my dad. If you want to let your dad's spirit join you in that space, if you feel safe to do that, do that. If you want to feel that sadness, feel that. Just let the spirit of heaven come with you in that moment to feel that sadness. Let the spirit of those on the screen who have shared their location, who are here together, come and share and sit in that sadness with you. We are open-hearted together to what our body, mind, and spirit are feeling and knowing. But whatever takes us out of this present moment, we set aside and say, no, I'm here with this group together in this spirit. It's okay, Kel. Then just sit here in the moment with us. Bless the light of the people that are in this moment with you. And for those of you who can, start to feel yourself interact with that spirit of heaven. You can ask that spirit a question. You need to know something about your day. You need wisdom. You need knowledge. You need assurance and affirmation. You can say, how does heaven see me? Spirit of heaven, spirit of goodness, how do you see me? Thank you for the gifts, Tiff. Allow the spirit to start to share your goodness with you. And if there's a voice that says you're bad, you need to do better, that is a human voice that's been put in you. Take that voice and set it aside for the moment. And let me and the spirit of heaven tell you, you are good and you deserve good things to happen in life, that you are inherently valuable because you exist and I'm in this moment with you. Hard-heartedness says, I can never think differently than the religious bondage that was put upon me as a child or in my religious design, my religious heritage. But open-heartedness says, I can see the possibilities of something new. I can have that spirit of Caleb that says, maybe something better is ahead. Maybe I don't have to live in the bondage of my religious youth anymore. Alignment Heart says, I hear that you are my child. That's beautiful. Allow your spirit to interact with the spirit of others here. Allow your spirit to interact with the spirit of heaven. What's that spirit telling you? How is it interacting with you? I hear the spirit saying, you are beautiful. You are wonderfully and fearfully made. You are free to love and be loved. And you are free to love yourself. Let's just take a moment and sit there. What would it mean to love yourself? I love myself just as I am. Feels good. And when we love ourselves, we become freed to love others. That's why we set aside the anxieties and the things of the day so we can find a me space to put on my oxygen mask, like in the airplane first, so that I have resources to care and give to others. Stormy says the song "It Is Well with My Soul" is playing in my head. Imbrad is praying for their son. Yeah, this is a space to find our soft-hearted, open-heartedness place. So glad you guys are here with me today. One last moment in this spiritual place. So now let's move to gratitude. Let that spirit of heaven know that you are grateful. Grateful that that spirit joined you and joined us in this moment. We are grateful, Spirit of Heaven. You can release that spirit back to heaven. And now let's be grateful to one another. I am grateful to you for being in this space with me. I say namaste to you. The light in me sees the light in you. And I am grateful for you. And I release your spirit back to you. And now let's be grateful to ourselves. You be grateful to you. Tell yourself, I am grateful that you made this space for me today, for us today. Namaste. Let the light in you recognize that light and say, I am worthy to be loved and able to love others. Amen. All right. Let me take down our music and denote this moment. Oh man, I forgot to light my incense today. That's okay. I entered a spiritual space without it. Well, I would love for you to share what you heard in this spiritual time, what you sensed, what happened for you. I'm going to light my incense now, even though I missed it earlier. Incense really tells my physiology that we're in a spiritual moment. So even though our mindfulness time is finished, I'm going to stay in a spiritual moment with you. So what were you hearing? What was your experience? What were you feeling as you worked towards open-heartedness? What was the challenge? Would love to hear that from you. Thank you for the follow, tie-dye 585. Hi, Andrea. Good morning. And if you're just joining us and you haven't shared your location, your place, please share your name and where you're from or where you are. My name is Paul. I'm in Fresno, California. Imbrad says the feeling was gratitude. Beautiful. Beachy Beach is here from Alabama. We've got Jennifer's on YouTube from Alabama. Temple, Texas for Andrea Miller. And Brad is from Houston. Very cool. I came in late. Bethany from Central Florida. Awesome. Smoke my petty. I didn't know your name was Bethany. Cool. Real truck driver. I appreciate you, sir. Thanks, real truck driver. Her Eve is from San Diego. I'm jealous, Her Eve. You're from one of the most beautiful places in all the United States. Real truck drivers from Ocala, Florida. So tell me what you were experiencing. Ashley says, I missed it tending to a sick kiddo. Oh, sorry to hear that, Ashley. She says, I'm going to replay it later, though. And yes, you can do that. You can watch our mindfulness moments. They are preserved on my YouTube channel. Smoke My Petty says to the real truck driver, you are a couple of hours north of me. I love that we get to connect with people from our area and space. Dawn from Kingston, Jamaica. Another beautiful place. Tiffany says, I experienced love and total relaxation. Oh, beautiful. And Brad said, loved the music. It's relaxing. Thank you. I got to make that music available somewhere. Well, I guess you can go back and watch the mindfulness moment on my, but I'm wondering if I wonder if I could put the music up on YouTube. Create a Spotify playlist. Good idea. It's music that I purchased, though. I'm not sure it's up there. A hum, like trying to break out of the worry and thoughts. Then the song started slowly, then breath. Oh, that's very good, Stormy. That's how you get to that breakthrough of the spiritual moment of kind of saying, no, I'm not going to let this other stuff distract me and take me away from where I'm going. Well done. Beautiful. All right. If you have any questions or comments, we can open broader to whatever you want to talk about. Shelby says, I felt soothed and warmth. Yeah. Was that a good feeling, Shelby? Real truck driver says, I love it out west, especially the desert. Where do you go to the desert? Do you go to the high desert of California? Do you go to space around Vegas? There's a lot of desert out here. When you drive from Fresno to Vegas, you go through a town called Butler, and Butler in the high desert of California. And Butler has this big thermometer outside the city that tells you what the temperature is. And it can go, I think the thermometer will go up to like 120 because it can get really hot there. Smoke My Petty says, sitting in the college parking lot waiting for my daughter to finish her GED class. As a trucker all over. Oh, okay, that's right. You go all over the place. Tiff says, good luck to her. That was a wonderful way to start the day. Thank you. You're welcome. Her Eve. I'm assuming that's Her Eve. Yeah. And if you guys appreciate what I do, go to my website, pastor-paul.com. Beachy Beach says, I'm driving to work. Awesome. Weighing relationship of personal happiness to pleasing God. Should there feel cohesiveness or at odds? Absolutely not. The command of heaven is love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Those loves do not conflict with one another. Let me finish my short note there. pastor-paul.com. You can sign up for my newsletter, receive my inspiring writings that I try to do 2 or 3 times a week. And if you're able and would like to, you can support my work financially by subscribing, and you'll get access to the audiobook version of my novel, which you can't get anywhere else in the world. And you can help me just keep doing this for as little as $5.99 a month, up to $100 a month. You can subscribe and help facilitate this work to tell the world that God is not mad at you. Do you know it's amazing that when I tell people God is not mad at them, it makes Christians very uncomfortable and some very angry? That Christians sometimes don't want people to be told God's not mad at them? Is that crazy? But yes, pastor-paul.com. Real Truck Driver says Utah is one of my favorites. Very cool. I graduated from college in Fresno State, got a job in El Paso, Texas. So I drove from Fresno to El Paso, and beautiful countryside out there, and then a lot of nothing in a lot of space too. They're driving through nowhere for a lot. But boy, did I see some lightning storms that were some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Stormy says, "How are you, Pastor Paul? You always create space for us. Let me hijack and create for you." That would be awesome. That would be awesome, Stormy. I always feel it reflects how they were parented or what they feel about themselves, others. It's sad. Yeah. Well, if I worship an angry God that is very judgmental and is always judging my actions, I will want to impose that God onto others. I will want others to have to live equally as miserably as me. That's what religion does. It doesn't provide a solution to the law and to rules and to a rule-based belief system. It provides more space for more sin and more shame. Christianity doesn't solve the problem of evil. It creates more ways to be evil and to be shamed and to feel disconnected from God. And Jesus brought a message that was quite the opposite. Denise says they try to use fear of Jesus coming back. They don't like when I said, "I'm ready to go, LOL." What are your thoughts about God being just a God? I think I think in the Bible, clearly they believed in multiple gods. I believe God is more of a spirit than a being. So that's kind of how I look at it. Eleanor 1993 says, "I always feel shame and guilt. I'm afraid if I do something wrong, I will be punished." So that is a belief that's been put upon you by religion. And it takes work. I say the eyes to see, intentionality and innovation. Innovation and intentionality. Innovation is starting to allow yourself to be open, to believe and think a new way. And then intentionality is you walk it out on a regular basis. You start to tell yourself that shame was put upon me by an authority figure, a parent, a teacher, a pastor, a religious system. And I am not going to allow that system to interrupt and bring fear and pain and hatred to me anymore. And you have to tell yourself that day after day, hour after hour, sometimes, no, I will not feel the shame of my religious upbringing. Innovation, thinking something new, intentionality. I'm not going to be the same. I'm going to work to change this. Jamie says, "Oh, I slept in again." It's on YouTube. You can go back and watch it. Beachy Beach says, "Jesus came to take away the sins of the world." I actually don't agree with that statement. I think Jesus came to show us he came to sozo the world. He didn't come to condemn it. He didn't come to say you're sinners. He came to say, if you understand and are reconciled to your connection to the God of heaven, that will take away your sins. That will take away your belief in yourself as something bad or wrong or sinful. And you will start to walk in partnership with the goodness of heaven and be your best or better self. What good evidence is there to believe that any of this is real other than personal experience? I don't. I just don't spend a lot of time fighting for how we're going to prove. I actually don't need that proof to have a spiritual walk along with the spirit of heaven. So I think if you need tangible proof, um, it's just not going to be there. And so Like I'm talking about the story of the Israelites leaving Egypt and heading toward the promised land, and it may very well be that didn't happen. We have no archaeological evidence of that event actually occurring. And I say, cool, it's still an amazing story, and I'm going to see what wisdom I can pull from that, um, and go forward with that. Everybody is believing in something that's beyond their ability to prove. Um, because even life itself, we just don't know exactly where it came from. We don't know exactly how the universe started. And so we hear evidence, we watch how things impact others, and we start to say, what does my spirit tell me is truth? So it may mostly be personal interpretation. So I don't condemn anybody's belief system, other than those that say my belief system is the only one that's right, and you're stupid or evil for believing differently. Be holy or holy. How do you feel that interpretation is best rendered from Leviticus 11:44? Let me see. I would have to look that up. What did you say, Leviticus? I don't do a lot of Leviticus. It's There are laws and rules for people that aren't me for the most part. For I am the Lord your God. Consecrate yourselves, therefore, and be holy, for I am holy, for you shall not defile yourself with anything. So be holy as I am holy. In other parts of the Bible, we're told be perfect, be mature. Um, so holiness, I believe, comes from our relationship with God and with heaven, not with our own particular actions. And so be holy as I am holy means I'm going to walk with the spirit of heaven and let it draw me to my better self. Holiness is an act of interacting with the spirit of heaven and letting it impact us. That's how I read those passages in the Bible. Melissa says he came to reconcile, not salvation. This was a huge revelation to me. Yes, the word we translate as saved in the New Testament is the Greek word sozo. It doesn't mean say a prayer and get to go to heaven. It means to be reconciled as you were meant to be at creation. It is a holistic healing process, not a prayer and now I'm a Christian, yay, and I can act like Marjorie Taylor Greene and say I'm a Christian. That's not a person that's been sozo, that's been reconciled to their relationship with God. That is a person that has adopted a religion, and religion ain't what makes us holy. Keep up the great work, says Scotty. Thank you, Scotty. I've pulled away from the church, but now I'm lost. I don't know how to connect to God anymore. Yeah. So again, that's going to take the two eyes, innovation and intentionality, a new way to think, an open heartedness to see God in a different way and start to be intentional about connecting in that new way. So one way that I suggest is I do these mindfulness moments every Tuesday morning, 6:30 a.m. Pacific. They are on my YouTube channel, and spend some time in mindfulness. Let God start to interact with your spirit. So I have a whole bunch of my mindfulness moments on there. Go interact with those and start to see how you can connect to God in a new way again. You feel it in your heart, that subtle pull, says D. Yeah. Denise says, have you seen church members try to be buddy-buddy with the pastor? If so, why do you think they do? I mean, we all know why. Everybody wants place. Everybody wants to feel important. And so a lot of times it's being that buddy with the pastor that we feel like gives us a place, that the pastor is the big man in the church. If I'm friends with the big man, then I must be big. Tiff says, if we base history off the writings of the past, why deny the Bible as facts? Why deny the Bible as facts? I'm not sure I understand the question exactly, but there are a lot of things that we believe from the Bible that cannot be verified by history. Like even the authorship of the Gospels that we call Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Um, we know the disciples who walked with Jesus didn't write those. They were verbal, oral traditions, and so we can't even verify that the Apostle John is the author of John, and very likely is not. We have books that we say come from the Apostle Paul that we know were written after the Apostle Paul was dead. So it is nearly impossible to verify many of the things of history. I keep reading now, there's like no archaeological evidence of Moses or of the trip from Egypt to Israel. By the way, the Red Sea isn't in the pathway between Egypt and Israel. They could not have crossed the Red Sea. Um, so, how do we reconcile those things? We have to hold very loosely what we're reading as written by Bedouin farmers in the ancient world who didn't know the world was round. They didn't know America existed. They didn't have the full picture of what life is. So we have to hold the historicity of what we're reading very loosely and maybe look at it as more of a spiritual thing. Refer 1 Peter 1:16. Yeah, since you shall be holy, for I am holy, right? It says also be holy in all your conduct there as well. Avoid the 7 deadly sins. I think we avoid the 7 deadly sins by starting to learn our value and goodness, our reconciliation, the sozo that Jesus came to bring us with heaven. If we have a set of rules, it says in Romans, that will create sin, not get rid of sin. Having a set of rules, it's like prohibition in the United States didn't stop anybody from drinking alcohol. It didn't do anything to settle the problem that it was trying to address. It actually created whole new genres of evil. And that's what law does. If I say I'm going to avoid the 7 deadly sins, the 7 deadly sins create a whole other genre of sin around it. We're to live out of relationship. Love God, love your neighbor as yourself, and then reconcile through relationship together. D says, I've read lost books that confirm the Bible. I would like to see those because I've done a lot of study on this, and most of what I've seen, like this proves the Bible, doesn't prove the Bible. I can't even begin to explain how much you've helped my religious trauma. I can't thank you enough. Thank you. Sorry, reloading. Well, I would love it if you would sign up for my newsletter on my website, pastor-paul.com. When you guys provide the activity on my website, those of you who can give some financial support, that helps me keep going and doing what I'm doing. If you can't afford it, do not give money that you can't afford to give. Okie dorky. God is always there. One must simply open themselves in quiet meditation to make the connection. The current Bible only gives the tip of the iceberg. Gotcha. Thank you, Beachy Beach, for sharing the live. Thank you, Anna Seal Harriman, for following. All right, any other questions, thoughts? Yeah, be holy, for I am holy means the interaction with our spirit, with the spirit of heaven, brings holiness. Holiness comes with that interaction. It pulls us to our better selves. It says, I can live self-sacrificially. I can give resource to others because I have resource. Anisha. Oh, okay. I see it now. That was not very bright on my part, Anisha. I'm sorry. Sometimes when the names are all smashed together, you see them. So that's pretty silly. Anisha. Got it. Okay. What was really the turning point for you to start looking at the Bible differently? A lot of things. I think mostly when I learned how the Protestant canon was formed together, how messy it was, how there is still dispute over what books should be in the canon of the Bible and what shouldn't. When I learned that Paul definitely didn't write Hebrews, when I had been taught all my life that he did, when I learned, that the books were written a long time after Jesus was on earth. All those things started shaking my belief that we actually knew what we were talking about. Christianity existed and grew before a canonized text. Yes, it did. So I believe Paul did write Romans. All the evidence I've seen is that Paul did write Romans, and I actually think it's the best It's about the only book of Paul that I really take very seriously. Um, I think if you really understand what's happening in Romans, it's one of the um, best theological tomes out there. What you have to be careful of is what Christians like to do is take one verse from Romans and say, "Here, see, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." They don't understand that what Paul is doing in that writing, and I think it is Paul, if it's not, I won't hassle it. I think it's a brilliant writing. What he's really saying is he's taking something and saying, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God is what we understand. Let me expound around that to show you how the relationship that God had with Abram, the covenant he made with Abram, who later became Abraham, is the covenant God wants to have with all people. And so it would be like, the way Christians read Romans would be like if you heard me say, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And somebody said, wow, lemons are really important. We really need to think about lemons. How do we get more lemons? Because lemons clearly matter a lot to Paul. You would have totally missed what was being said in the passage. And that's how most Christians read Romans. They take little verses to justify their own narrative, and they miss the whole of what is being said in Romans, which is out of relationship with God, righteousness comes, not out of following a rule book or law. So for me, my understanding is Paul did write Romans. He did not write the pastoral epistles, Timothy, Titus, those. So what's the difference between a picture of Jesus and the real Jesus? Answer, you can hang. I'm not sure if that's a joke or what that is. Thank you for the claps, Tiff. The picture with one nail. I'm sorry, I don't really find that a particularly funny joke. Faith and trust in the Creator. So I think Jesus Christ is the model. Jesus Christ came to model how to live in relationship with Christ. Yeah. Tiff, if you want to mute or block Wang Dang Doodle, you're very welcome to do. Sometimes when we have about a 6-year-old mentality, we can't handle the comment section of TikTok. Thank you very much for doing so. So I think Jesus is a model of what life can look like. He called himself the Son of Man. In Ezekiel, we see this term, Son of Man, stand up and I will talk to you. We see this quantum moment of God existing in 3 parts, in this God of heaven, in this dimension, this spirit of heaven in the dimension of the earth, and the spirit of man, the spirit of heaven living within the human body. The Trinity, if you will, taking place at that time. And I think Jesus came to say, like Ezekiel, I'm Son of Man, and I want to show you how the Spirit of God in you will enliven you to the truth of interacting with the Spirit of heaven. I think we missed what that means. I was always told he wrote it too. How did you learn this? I found my next hyperfixation. That Paul wrote Hebrews or Romans? I don't remember. I mean, I've studied so many books about the history of the Bible. I'm sorry. I probably should have a resource ready for you, but I'm sorry that I don't. But there's just so many resources out there to explore. There's a guy on TikTok named Dan McClellan, and I think he spells it on TikTok like Maklelen. And Dan's brilliant. I love his stuff. He is a Bible historian, and he's one of the best that I've seen. So go check out Dan's page. Yeah, we're feeling our way through this. Tiffany, thank you for being a moderator. Dan's videos are so good and informative. Yeah. Thank you guys for being with me. I'm going through a little bit of a tough spiritual time myself. And so just your interaction with me helps me so much to feel alive and worthy and hopeful. So I'm very grateful for you all. All right, I've got to run. If you will, go to my website, pastor-paul.com. If you're on YouTube, you can just point your camera at the QR code there. I would love it if you sign up for my newsletter. That'll give you the opportunity to access my audiobook, the audiobook version of my novel. It'll get you my newsletter and access to our community chat board on the website where you can ask me questions any time of day and I'll answer. Um, and then if you would be willing to and can afford it, then hit that support Pastor Paul link and give whatever you can, whether $5.99 a month or $100 a month. I would love it. It would just, and some may say, well, what difference does $5.99 a month make? Well, if you have 300 people giving $5.99 a month, it starts to give you a good base of income to keep working from. So no amount is too small. And I would just appreciate it and love you for it, because I have to feed my children and pay for their college tuition too. And there are other resources on my website, like my coaching services, which is where I really make my living and enables me to do this. So if you would go check it out, pastor-paul.com, I would appreciate it. Rachel says, love one another. Thank you for sharing your gifts. You're welcome. Ditto, kind soul. Very grateful for all of you. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. Have an amazing, brilliant, beautiful day. You are good and you deserve good things to happen.